Alright, my funny little vixen people. I made a little guide on Haven macro. I just want everyone to be on the same page about how the map is played. It's pretty basic, you know. There's not too much crazy stuff going on. But anyway, there's some terminology that I want you guys to read here and quickly go through because whenever I do a strategy video, I'm probably going to mention some of these things and I need you to know what they mean. Especially transitional space, very important. And also flood space, also very important. So definitely make sure you know those two. But anyway, once you've read through here, I'm gonna put this up and you have a quick look at this. This is all the areas that are highlighted with funny things. I know, like it looks like I'm a crazy person, but trust me, it gives you a good idea of how the map is played. Anyway, I'm gonna go out of that and we're gonna go down to a more simpler one that makes me look less crazy and will give you a good understanding of a very basic idea of what you want to control on Haven. So first of all, you can see all the yellow space. This is transitional space, and what transitional space is where one lane splits into two. Um, as a defender, you want to make sure that you're really having to deal with the least amount of lanes actively as possible, as it will allow you to have multiple team members on a lane. And if the number of lanes that you have to watch becomes too high, what ends up happening is people start shooting you in the back of the head. So we really don't want that to happen. We want to have really good control over these spaces. We're less worried about C because there's no transitional space, and if they don't take mid, then we don't really have to be as worried about a flank. All right, so I'm going to go through and highlight this, and you probably do need to go through and read this at some point. This will be in the bottom, but basically what this is saying is if you have an insert in these spaces, how you should go and look to play the rest of the round. It's all here, it's been written, but I will go down a bit further and I will read through this. Winning on Haven's pretty simple. More often than not, Haven is won by seeing which team can have the best slash deeper control over execution spaces and how early they can take information before an execution. This is ultimately the start point to winning or losing a round. Rounds can be won through map attrition, which means that the attack or defense side has control over an exorbitant number of transitional spaces, which convert into execution spaces. Executions that involve lanes not seen in a standard execution. This cuts the ability for the enemy to flood. You can also find numbers through lurks. So that may have sounded a little bit confusing, and I did muck up my speaking because, you know, I'm dyslexic and stupid. But if we have a quick look at that, what this means is you see these backside spaces that you'd usually want to have control over so you can like flood your team onto site. If you can find a way to like get through garage or go through B and actually exec from their spawn, all of a sudden holding that backside space is impossible. And that will usually happen for you if one, you have a good read of the defender default setup. For example, if they play like a breach here, they don't really play anyone towards garage and they play one person on C and they play 3A, then you can literally just run through this space and crunch backside and end up with a free site. And then usually from there, you'll have numbers, and it's very hard for the enemy team to get back into the round, especially if you have someone defending this smoke. And it's the same thing here. Like, they have to worry about someone being inserted in mid once you've gone A. They have to take all this time re-clearing all of this space. And yeah, you just have a free A site. Um, so yeah, you can also do a similar thing towards B. You can go through garage, look to crunch onto B, take back site. And then the thing with this as well is that you can go through and look to fight Blink or other spaces. And when you have good control of here, you really only have to worry about people coming from Link. That's your main problem, especially if you've got Sentry Util down here on C and A and you're not getting flanked. All of a sudden, it's very simplified, and that type of B execute can be quite strong. And all of this is on a different page, so I'm going to go to that. But yeah, that's kind of the point where I want us to be getting to, where we're not just running standard executes, but to a point where we're going through our mid round, we're figuring out what the enemy team do, we're manipulating rotations so we can have positions open that we want, like garage, and then we can like lurk a person up to here, and then we come back and do like a C split. This person's focused on here and here, they're not thinking about behind them, and they're just dead. All right. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about quickly is our Haven composition, and also just composition in general. You've got three style archetypes in Valorant, which are aggro, control, mid-range. And as you'll see here, you can go through and like read things. You know what? I might be a good narrator for you today. So aggro focuses on taking space, forcing enemy responses. It's about being proactive, denying enemy actions, and creating pressure, like post-plant mollies. Also, just dashing over a trip is something that would be quite aggressive. Control involves passive map manipulation, maintaining space control without being an immediate threat. This style allows countering attacks on your team on your terms and letting enemies move where you want them to go. Mid-range centers on reactionary attrition. I know that's big words. It basically means if the enemy team do something aggressive, you have a response that is maybe slightly weaker, but you'll be able to keep more utility than them while forcing them back. But I'll continue going through this. Answering the opponent's moves while draining their utility. So yeah, you're trying to win through utility attrition. The goal is to reclaim contested space, force poor pushes, and find value through numbers of utility advantage in post-plant situations. So yeah, if you think about draining an enemy's utility and then they go into an exec and you haven't really used any utility of yours, then you've still got like your breach stun, omen blind, jet dash and everything, you're gonna have like a hella good retake. So yeah, just things like that to think about. And then you'll see here as well that aggro beats control. By moving faster than the opponent can react, control beats mid-range, as mid-range can't effectively break established control. So what that basically means is if you have like a sky flash and the enemy has like a chamber trip there, and you go, oh wow, I sky flashed and there was nothing there, and wow, we could go there, and then I don't know, you run into a chamber trip and a cipher trip or anything like that, and your exec is just screwed. Like you don't have the information that that's actually there. And then mid-range beats aggro through attrition that outlasts aggro's threat over time. So if you think about like a jet who's burned dash trying to get up C long Haven, and then they get gecko flashed and they have to go back, and all of a sudden their dash has been burned, but all of a sudden Gecko's got his flashback and he hasn't really lost anything. So that's kind of like where the resource attrition comes in, and that's where that poor push comes in because they don't have a dash to break the checkpoint to get onto site. Um, and yeah, so that's a style, and that's it in simple terms. And there's more to read here if you want to read. It's just longer and more annoying. There's also a little graph, but it kind of like shows where agents are individually and when they sit. Going into here, this is kind of like more for a whole composition because you're going to create a composition that has a score, and it's going to be predominantly aggro, mid-range, control, and that's going to dictate how quickly you want to play. If you have, I don't know, a team of 5 duelists, you're going to want to play quickly because all you have is aggro. But if you're playing like a double controller, Senti, Viper comp, you're going to be wanting to play a lot slower and use the mid-range that you have to find advantages through resource attrition throughout a round. All right, now that we've gotten through that, the next point I kind of want to go into is understanding where the meta is for pros right now and how it leans into what we've picked and what we want to play. So as you can see at the moment, we've got the Yoru, flipping ISO comp, and then we've got our comp here. We're playing one of the quite popular comps that a lot of teams play. And the thing with popular comps is that a lot of teams play them because they're easy to play and easy to understand. But the problem with that is because they're easy to play and easy to understand, the other team also understands what you're doing and can abuse that very heavily. So that's what you run into when you play something that's quite common, especially with Breach Jet. That's been played for, I don't know, at least 2-3 years. So everything that you can kind of do there is really, really known. ISO Yoru is pretty good. I enjoy that comp as well. And then you'll see there's like a funny Viper comp down here. Okay. And then if we go to this is actually like non-mirror win rate. And basically what that means is this is how many times this composition has won when it's played against a composition that isn't the same as them. So if you look at this, and this is recent, this is patch 11.02, so this is like the last 2 months. Let's have a quick look. As you'll see, the composition that we're playing currently is down here at the bottom. And that kind of leans into everyone understands what we're doing. Also, at the moment, Breach is just kind of bad. You can see both comps with Breach in them are down here at the bottom. We've got ISO Yoru going up a bit higher. We've got Yoru Neon up a little bit further. And then the comp that's killing it right now is this Viper Neon comp. And in my opinion, that is the best comp right now. And if you want to be successful going into the next couple of months, it's the comp you probably need to try and learn. There is some argument that you might be able to try and make a Yoru work instead of a Neon, but we'll get onto that further. That would also lead some gaps in composition. Anyway, getting into like Breach being weak, I actually have included a video here. It's not showing currently, but it's TMV, and he's basically saying, why did Riot nerf Valorant's worst agent, which is Breach? And it goes through a whole bunch of stuff around non-mirror win rate and whatnot, and explains quite well why Breach is struggling. So that might be worth your time having a look through as well. But moving into the agents that are quite strong right now on this map, which we happen to be playing, I don't think any of them. I mean, like, Sova, Killjoy, any of those Sentinels are pretty standard, but these are the ones that have been pushing up the win rate. So I want to go into Viper quite deeply, because if we do play against the Viper, if we have the knowledge and the understanding of what they're doing, then we can react better and make better decisions. I don't want to go into a game and we're looking at like a Viper composition and being completely confused about what they're doing. Alright, so first of all, Viper has the ability to seriously mess with transitional space, which is something that's very important on Haven, because Haven is very mid-round heavy. And then she also has the ability to strengthen a back sight hold for a flood, and has a lot of stopping power to stop a flood on attack, strengthening sight hold. She can also create new positions for inserts, which can be difficult to clear, along with the ability to strengthen the defense of C in ways that aren't usually possible for a single controller. She can also enable or threaten a mid-walk by putting up a wall. And I'm going to go through in this image now and explain that all to you, so if we go into a game against the Viper, we're not completely lost. Alright, so first thing is this defensive wall on C. What this defensive wall on C does is it has like 3-4 functions. First of all, it makes it difficult to flood onto front site, because all of a sudden you're looking at a Viper wall, everyone can be flooding onto the site, and we're not burning like a whole bunch of Omen controller utility to do that. Omen can focus on other areas of the map like B and A. The next thing is that you can see that the smoke actually crosses across C link here. That can be defended. Say if you had like a Yoru here, he could be like sitting in this corner. They're going to swing through this smoke, mainly looking probably at plat, and there can be a kill found there if we're clever. The next thing is you see in this little corner here, it actually creates a pocket for a Viper to play in, or probably more a duelist to play in, someone like Neon or someone like Yoru who could get one and get out, or flash through this smoke and find a lot of value, or even just wait for them to pass through and then have a quick timing on the lurk once this wall drops down. Next thing is it cuts off mid window, so you can walk mid as the defender side. So it enables a lot of very scary things that you need to be aware of, and you try to make sure that none of those things are happening. Like on the attack side, when they start putting up this wall early, you have to be thinking, okay, what have they shown us on A? What have they shown us towards C? Could they be walking mid right now? because all of a sudden they could be like pushing up to window and flashing you. They could also, you know, I guess drop this down and fight into this area of grass. Let me get my little pen out because I'm bored. Like this area, so you need to be worried about that. And my Control Z doesn't really work. Okay. Other things that you need to be worried about with this ball, let me think. No, I think we pretty much covered it. Alright, defensive orb. We've seen this one before. We all kind of know what this smoke does, but basically what it allows you to do is hold on to this part of sight. And if you want to add in like an omen smoke here, if we've been struggling to hold it, it allows everyone to flood in without any problems at all. And you can also retake very well with it because when you're crossing around sight, you don't have to worry about angles from sewer. So very strong, very good, very cool. You can also stand in it and do like a little reactive play. Like if you know they mostly group up towards long, you can all of a sudden flash out of this orb and like fight and then take sewer control, be a little bit goofy. So yeah, a bunch of things you can do with that orb. More moving on to the attack stuff now, you'll notice that these two transitional spaces have been put back in for a reason, and they're just to illustrate how that Viper kind of cuts off those sight lines, and all of a sudden you have to worry about this and this, and you have to worry about someone walking all the way down into sewer. You also have to worry about someone crossing across here. And what that eventually does to your defense is if you have a jet posted on a line like this, all of a sudden they're like, I feel uncomfortable. There could be someone walking up here and they can't really hold that alone anymore, which is going to cause a defensive rotation to come across like this, and it's ultimately going to weaken B and C. While that defensive rotation is happening, this orb here in mid could potentially come up and someone could be like walking through here or listening for noise, and they can tell you, okay, well, we know that 2 players are on A now. We've broken this here. We knew that there's not anything there. We could like push jet off this line, get control of this exec space, and we already have control of this exec space because we have mid. And then all of a sudden we can like be pushing garage as well. And all of a sudden we have control of this exec space and this exec space. And this person feels very uncomfortable. And they might like do something bad and walk down C and die to someone posted or anything like that. But it just gets to a point where you're worried about so many things. You've got to worry about here. You've got to worry about later on in the round. Here, here. Walk out of here, here. So that's 4 things already. And we haven't even got to C yet. And if you've done a C default, they've got to worry about here. They've potentially got to worry about here as well. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we're not even done yet. Potentially, we could put like an omen smoke here, and then all of a sudden they've got to worry about here and here. And you can see how very quickly things can get out of control playing against the Viper. So yeah, the other thing is that it's good in like a controlling the exec because all of a sudden you have a Viper orb on spawn, especially on A. This is really screwed because jumping out of heaven sucks and you really got to have a good timing to do that. So yeah, if you get stuck out of A, the best thing you can usually do is look to flank and take some control this way. The best thing you really can do against a Viper is probably look to walk someone down mid. But even then, this wall will cut that off and someone can walk up here. So you got to be careful of that. So you kind of like see how powerful Viper is and how many problems you can create for you. I've literally spent like a good 3 or 4 minutes yapping just about that. So I don't know. Maybe something to consider in future is looking to play a Viper because currently Breach is very weak and this video up here explains that. Neon is the next thing. Neon has a better win rate and success rate than Jet at the moment, and that's for a couple of very simple reasons. It's because she can 1, stun this on her own, 2, she can stun this, 3, she can rotate pretty quickly and be annoying in a lot of different positions. 4, she just beats utility. 5, she She can op. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. What did I say on like the writing? Let's see if the writing tells us anything different. Mobility allows for quick rotations, allowing fast floods, allows her to beat plenty of defense util. Yep, said that. Retakes, yeah. She can be very quickly there for a flood. Her wall can block sightlines effectively. Yeah, so yeah, she can come into A, and if we've lost our Viper player, she can do let me see. Something like this, which all of a sudden allows you to focus on going this way around, which can be very good. What else? What else? Let me see. I think that's kind of it. Another agent that's been having a fair bit of success is Yoru, and it's mainly a couple of reasons. First of all, Yoru has flashes, which is a very good thing. The other thing is that Yoru is also an entry agent, which is a very good thing. Yoru also has the ability to get out for free in positions like this and dodge utility, which is kind of annoying. And I want to see, if we do play a Yoru, someone doing this a lot, because it's funny and they don't scam with the start. And they will hear you running down here, but you can also like throw a clone down here, and all of a sudden they've got to use util to like clear that out, and they might like, oh, we dotted it, but like last round Yarrow was here with an operator and he killed us, so maybe we have to like use a flash here in it, or we have to like drone here and do something else. But all of a sudden that doesn't really work, because when you get to your site, Yori's only really burned a clone and you've burned drone, so he really could be somewhere in sewers doing something weird, or he could be on site and save her because he doesn't have to deal with flash number 2. So yeah, just things like that. And then, of course, if he's inserted here deep on A and all of a sudden you're going fast C, guess who's here to help? Woo! 3 people on site. Good luck. Alright, so that's basically the reasoning behind why those 3 agents are good, and I'm sorry for my, I'm gonna say autism. That's probably not a very socially safe word to use, but I'd like to think in future that we at least pick up one of these agents in our composition. It is highly successful, and if we go back to here with our mirror win rate kind of thing, sorry, up here, pop, pop, pop. You can kind of see that this comp will struggle, and no matter how much we play it and how good at it, we will struggle against teams that are good at something like this. So just something to think about. I will get into like a Haven proper thingy at some point. I'll quickly show you that I do have a Haven composition thing already to go. Where is it? Flipping here. Here we go. See? It's all there. It's all there. It's there. I just want to talk to you guys about how hard we want to train this composition, considering how weak it currently is. And the second thing is, because we're already playing like agents like Viper and whatnot on Corrode, the more maps we can pick up an agent like that and get used to it, the better. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and Yapps session over.